Welcome to the second episode of Diary of an Insurtech, where we explore the latest trends, developments, and stories shaping the insurance industry. Today, we're excited to have our VP of Strategy, Bob Juracka, with us to talk about his journey in insurance, his thoughts on the industry, and some of the exciting things happening at Rival. Let's start at the beginning, Bob. You got to tell us a little bit about your background. How did you first get into the industry?
Oh, gosh, that goes back so many decades now. It's scary. No, my first real job out of college. So, how much planning went into that? It was either a job as a pharmaceutical salesperson or a job as a insurance software salesperson. So, that's how I landed here. I started out selling it, then went into managing sales of it, then finally earned the right to have a say in what it was. So that's kind of how I fairly quickly evolved for one of the major vendors, dominant vendor, quite frankly, in the space. And that was in the U.S. I'm the U.S.-based Rival guy, but that's how I got started.
So have you always been on the software side of things?
Always been on the software side of things, and specifically always on the independent side of the distribution. So all my experience is there as opposed to the direct writer side of things.
Okay, so obviously that kind of shaped your perspective on the industry. Was there a pivotal moment or an experience early on that really shaped your career?
Yeah, I would consider one of those kind of game changer inflection points. I was involved in a very, very extensive project development journey around client self-servicing, and realized at the end of the process, unfortunately, that just didn't approach it correctly. That we built something that was, by all measures, intensely powerful. I mean, there was just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It had all the horsepower, but it ended up needing to be effectively almost back to square one, almost back to the drawing board, to make that horsepower actually usable. So it was a big epiphany to me that it was just, well, how can users, in this case insured clients, not be loving this? It's absolutely to die for. It can do things they can only dream of, but just not connecting the dot that those kind of users would never be willing, able to invest the time to actually understand it enough. So that notion of kind of first level users, and those users that as a software vendor you are going to have the opportunity to train and handhold and things like that, very, very different from the next order of users that you don't have the luxury of having that kind of training time with. So again, it just was that horsepower and features mean nothing if it's not actually usable by the targeted constituency. So it was an epiphany. It was a very expensive error, expensive in time and resources and everything else. So that was kind of pivotal, I think, in my history.
It's interesting that you share that, because I know here at Rival, obviously we're becoming very intent on hearing the voice of the customer, and we don't necessarily, obviously we want to create the best thing out there, but knowing that, okay, brokers are actually going to use every feature possible within the tool. So seems like that lesson has lasted a few decades. Now, I know that I've gotten the chance to get to know you over the last few months, and one thing I absolutely adore about you is your enthusiasm and your passion. So, just over the course of your career, like what has kept you passionate about the insurance industry?
Oh, good question. Good question. I think we'd have to subset it because, again, the part of the industry that I landed in, somewhat by happenstance to start with, but stayed in forever, is that independent brokerage distribution side of the business. And it is so much different from the direct writer side of things. And it's kept me passionate because I believe in it very, very strongly. I think that truly believe that it is the better way for the consumer. And I almost feel protective of it, that I want to make sure that the independent channel stays vibrant and stays, not only competitive. I want to have the leg up on the direct writer side of things. So I think my passion, the continued passion, comes from that in my heart, I believe this is a very important part of financial services, and its benefits for the consumers over the direct side of things are huge. So we need to rally around it, make sure that we are innovating and injecting the energy and providing that independent brokerage system every conceivable advantage we can provide them.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Oh,
Ellen, I'll
excellent.
kick it off to you.
Off to me. Yeah, Bob, great to hear your history of getting into the industry, and I can attest to your passion about what we're doing here at Rival and the industry in general. On the subject of the insurance industry, it's seen a lot of changes over the years. You've probably experienced that. What are your thoughts on the current state of the industry? We're curious to get your opinion on that.
Yeah. Irrefutably. I mean, a lot of changes, but I guess I would submit not enough changes. So I think the current state of the industry, and again, especially the independent channel side of things, is, there are some things that should have changed, certainly over the amount of time that I've been exposed and immersed in it, that haven't changed. So, you can think of that in a number of ways. There should be a lot of pent up demand and energy to embrace technologies that will improve things. So I see the current state as being, let's just say, ripe for innovation. For all the right reasons, and the timing for innovation has never been better. I mean, again, having spent 3.5 decades compared to you young people, that sounds like forever. But you'd be amazed at how similar a lot of the work processes are. It shouldn't be that way. So it's part of our charge to fulfill that need in the industry for some accelerated, let's say, innovation.
Yeah. And before we touch on innovation and maybe what some of those tools might be, Bob, you're right in that we're kind of at this pivotal point, I think, in time with the industry. What are some of the biggest challenges facing the industry? Have they kind of been the same challenges the last couple of decades, or is there anything in particular you're seeing as a big challenge that the industry faces?
Yeah, I think that bifurcation of insurance to independent versus direct writing. Direct writers can really innovate a lot easier. It's much more straightforward when you're only selling one thing, only selling and servicing your own thing, to kind of build in clever ways to streamline. So, I think the challenge facing us as Insurtechs, and specifically Insurtechs that cater to independents, is to, again, make sure we don't lose any ground to the direct writers. And we have a more complex challenge to do that, because a good independent broker is representing myriad companies who do things differently, and to provide the kind of service that they strive to do is a more difficult proposition. So the challenge is to the independent channel and to the vendors like us that serve that independent channel is to, again, make sure that we are keeping that a level playing field, or even better, providing salient advantages over what the direct writers are doing. And direct writers, again, it's easy for them with captive distribution. Their investments in innovation, again, it's simpler for them, and it's part of that overall budget. So where in the independent channel, where is that investment coming from? It's not from a particular carrier. They're saying, oh, we distribute through the independents, they have to do it. So, again, it's companies like us with longstanding clients and relationships with those clients and the revenue that business has generated. It's up to us to make those investments. So that is challenging. And again, that's part of that passion of why I stayed in it and stayed very passionate about it, is that, I know it's important. It needs to continue. It needs to accelerate.
I love that. So speaking of innovation, Bob, I know this is probably an exciting part of the podcast we want to get to, and mainly some exciting developments at Rival. So, Rival is making some really exciting moves lately. Are you able to share some of the latest developments happening within our company? I think people might be excited to hear that from your point of view.
Well, yeah, we're rocking and rolling on the whole RPM initiative. The concept of RPM being, novel in many, many ways, and we're really making right now connecting dots in our commitment to that different user experience. So, and again, this is an important distinction. I don't want to have another bad experience with becoming, having something so far afield that, yes, it is different, but it's befuddling to our users, but being, different enough to, again, have that injection of new innovation that I think the landscape really, really needs. So, I'm proud of sort of the combination, the commitment that we've made to a different way of interacting with the system. We kind of call it conversational interface, because it has so many cool outgrowths to it that, when you're working with a system in that way, it means you can have information imparted on you audibly, that over the audio system of my car, as opposed to simply, the old school way of typing something in. And again, that's a combination. We're committed to that conversational interface. We're committed to that different but better type of user experience, and mobility is a huge part of that. So, I love how everything I'm seeing seems to be confirming that we are absolutely on the right path on all of those key fronts. Doesn't mean it's all going to be easy, but I definitely think that Rival is making the moves in all the right directions.
Yeah. I think Rival is really approaching, innovation by using AI in the insurance space. How do you think Insurtech and AI will continue to evolve and impact the future of insurance in general? You think it's going to feature heavily, I guess, as we go forward?
Oh, big time. It's going to, the pace has been radically fast, and it's going to continue to accelerate. I mean, it's not leveling off. It's kind of, again, there's that huge amount of horsepower there. And now I think the next kind of phase you're going to see is it being more usable. How do you make that almost limitless amount of horsepower, right? Usable again, it's kind of harkens back to my experience on the bad experience on the client self-servicing project, but limitless horsepower out there, both from a generative AI perspective, as well as from a kind of a what I call a predictive AI perspective. And then how is it going to be able to be actually tapped into by an end user? I think that's the next phase we're going to see of lots of different methods kind of coming to the fore, and which ones of those kind of get traction. And yeah, I think it all kind of comes down to, I think our users all share a desire to do a fantastic job for their insureds. I mean, the independent brokers, almost without exception, I mean, they all have the right motivations in mind. They would love to lavish attention on their clients. The economics of insurance and everything else means that we're always squeezed. We don't have the luxury of being able to, spend hours and hours thinking about a particular client. We'd love to do that across the board. Our customers would love to do that across the board. If we tap into AI in the right way, it effectively enables that level of attention and consideration given to every client, right? And that's the way I think of it, is that when you're doing it right, you can know all these things about your client. You can make sure that every bit of their coverage needs are accounted for. You can make sure that they're getting the best value for their premium dollar, right? Those are things that AI, when we properly wrangle it, those are things that AI can absolutely make a reality for our users, that they can provide that lavish level of attention to every one of their clients.
Yeah. And just lastly, Bob, I know given how much you're involved in Rival on a daily, weekly basis, we could probably talk for hours on this, but just super quickly, what are you most excited about in terms of Rival's future direction?
Oh man, well, a lot of the things we've already kind of covered, but in a very, very high level sense, I love Rival's philosophy because I think it's a very grown up one. And at this stage of my career, you gotta be grown up as much as you can. Our philosophy around being a very open architecture. If there's one thing I've learned, you're never going to be all things to all people. Mm-hmm. And when a vendor takes a kind of walled off posture, they are absolutely limiting themselves and, more importantly, limiting their clients. So I love the attitude of Rival of being open, that there's going to be parts of this puzzle that, we may try on things, and it might be something that we even offer a similar functionality, but if somebody else does it better, if another vendor does it better, and it's part of the puzzle that is going to empower our client the best, we are absolutely open to working together, enabling that kind of philosophy to our end users. So I think that's the thing that I'm kind of most excited about.
Yeah, it's a great message, Bob, for sure.
Yeah, I love how you that's what we talk about a lot. How can we make this better for the broker, for the user, for the consumer, right?
Right.
And now to get into a little bit a less serious but still fun stuff, we've got thumbs up, thumbs down round. So we're going to ask you some questions related to insurance or Insurtech. Essentially, just give us thumbs up, thumbs down, and give us a reason why you think that. First question is AI to enhance customer communications. For example, drafting empathetic and clear communications. Is that a thumbs up or thumbs down?
Oh gosh, definitely. I'll do it Roman Emperor style here. Okay, that's definitely a thumbs up. Definitely a thumbs up. Yeah, it's just the generative horsepower of AI is amazing. And again, it's back to lavishing that attention. The way I've used AI, right? If I'm going to write a poem to my wife for our wedding anniversary, right? it simply means that I can do it effectively, more effectively, quite frankly, than without the help, and in radically less time, right? That, yeah, it rhymes, it does it right. And if it's not right, you can quickly get another iteration suggestion from it. So absolute unequivocal thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I use that pretty much every day to help me draft emails because I tend to, doesn't matter if I'm speaking in French or English, I will write how I speak, which is obviously doesn't always come across the right way in an email format. So AI has definitely helped me with the tone of my emails and to help clarify and simplify things. So I'm with you on that one. What about AI powered financial operations for carriers?
Gosh, I'll do Roman Emperor. I don't know. I honestly don't know. That's not a side of the business that I have a lot of opinion on. But certainly, I mean, that's got to be kind of wading into blockchain and distributed ledger kind of technologies. And yeah, I would imagine if I were on that side of the business, the truth machine that blockchain represents would be very powerful. But again, I'll kind of reserve that. I really don't have an opinion of my own because it's not an area of the industry that I spend time thinking about.
All right. And last one, what about hyper personalization through AI and behavioral data for brokers or just insurers in general?
Well, absolutely. I mean, thumbs up. That's really the big picture of what we're focusing on. And again, that's where, from an RPM perspective, our ambitions are to make that experience not only a different user experience across the board, but a hyper customized user experience. Is that insight going to hit my particular RPM home screen? We hope that by the time it's gone through all of our curating processes, we're going to have an incredibly high level of confidence that it is hyper important to that particular RPM user. So unequivocal thumbs up on that one.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on those topics.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Okay, to one of my favorite segments of the podcast, and actually our last question for today, Bob. You'll probably be pleased to hear that, but it's the personal question. So before we wrap up, here's a personal question we've given you in advance. We love to ask every guest a more personal question just so listeners can get to know them a bit better. So the question for you: if you could have dinner with anyone, past or present, who would it be and why?
Yeah. Super thought-provoking. And this was the one that I did get from you guys ahead of time. So I did give it some thought. So if such a thing were possible, I would have to go back to, a long dead person. And I found myself, wanting to have as much of a delta for this person to experience as possible between my current world and the world that they knew. But then it occurred to me that, if you go too far back in time, then that human brain that you're now showing this contemporary world that we live in, they wouldn't be able to get their brain around it, right? They would chalk it up to mysticism or magic or divinity or something like that. So the oldest human brain, that the biggest delta between the now and the world that they knew, but that could still absolutely appreciate it, Copernicus.
That would be interesting with how technology has come.
Absolutely, because he'd actually get it. It wouldn't just be, oh my gosh, there's things flying in the sky. He would get it and dive into it. And the flip side of it is, we would really have him to thank for it. Everything that he's seeing in these things, would ultimately have come from the the scientific revolution that arguably he started. I mean, from Newton to Kepler to Galileo, they were all influenced by him. So, I mean, literally, and up to and including that, if such a thing were ever possible, it would imply we've advanced a lot more on physics than we already have. But even that technology that would have enabled that he's here to see it, we would thank him for. So I think it would be as old of a human brain as I could reach back to. And again, it would be one that obviously irrefutably is one of the smartest that humanity has ever created. So
very cool.
I wonder, I just took the course, the Principles and Practice of Insurance through the Insurance Institute, and they were talking about the history of insurance and how it dates back basically to the Roman Empire. So it's like, I wonder if we go back to that time and people who were talking about insurance then, if they could comprehend, insurance in today's world with the addition of technology. So I really like your train of thought, Bob, on this one. That was really interesting.
Oh, very cool. No, it was fun to consider. So thank you for the question.
Well, yeah, thank you, Bob, for joining us today and just sharing your insights. It's been an absolute pleasure. Do you have any closing remarks for us?
No, just it's a cool vibe happening kind of in the company. It's a cool time of year. I always think of, the kind of the springtime happening, the energy that you just seem to bring to the day. That's kind of hard to find when it's dark at 3:30 in the afternoon. So, everything is lining up. So, it's a great team. These kinds of exercises are wonderful as well. It just sort of seems like there's a lot of momentum already have been built, but a lot of momentum continuing to build.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I'm very excited to see where we're going to be as an organization by the end of this year, and just what we'll have accomplished within the market and the impact that we're going to really truly start to see. So I just wanted to thank our listeners for tuning in. Be sure to join us next time where we chat with our VP of Product, Stephanie Plangger, for more great discussions on Rival Insights. See you soon, everybody.
Welcome to the future, let's rival it too. Ashley, Steph, and Ellen, bringing insights to you. Tech meets insurance, we're shaping the way. Diary of an insurance, just press